Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. So today I'm delighted to welcome special guest Gloria Battini. Gloria is a transformational guide, a spiritual teacher, and an intuitive business mentor. That's quite a combination, who helps people align every dimension of their lives with their soul's path. Rooted in her own profound healing journey, Gloria's mission is to help create a new earth by guiding others home to themselves, believing that when we live in alignment with our true soul's path, we bring more harmony to the planet. I would agree with that. Gloria blends astrology, mediumship, and energy healing to offer a multidimensional path to authenticity. And you can find Gloria at gloriabattini.com, GloriaBattini.com, and that will be in the show notes. So, Gloria, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Catherine. I'm already super excited.
Brilliant. What a good start. So
Yes.
we in the prequel, one of the things we talked about was this incredible notion of God is you. And I think a lot of us have heard that idea or maybe given lip service, and some of us are really connected to that idea some of the time. But your connection with it is personal and unique to you. So I'm going to ask you to reveal to us your earliest memory of realizing that God is you.
I think my earliest memory of realizing that, unfortunately, is not very early.
Was it last week?
Unfortunately, it was definitely not in childhood. I think that it's definitely something that happened in the past few years. And it has happened I mean, consciously at least, right? Consciously, it's something that I came to realize definitely in the past few years, for sure. At least, in the past, like, I don't know, probably like 6 years, 7 years, I would say. Innately, intuitively, innately, I think that it's always been something that was dormant in me as a concept, because I'm just thinking back at how I lived my life and the things that I believe in and stuff. And I feel like if I didn't have that inside of me, that deep belief inside of me, I don't think that I would have gone in the path that I've gone on, but definitely I wasn't aware of it. I cannot say that I was aware of it at all. And so it came to the surface definitely in the past few years. And the earliest memory is probably, let's see if I can pinpoint a memory to it. You know what? There is something. Again, like, not necessarily that, but that was a moment when I said, okay, so this all makes sense. These things that I've always felt inside are now starting to really feeling like this is true, right? And I was working with a spiritual coach, and we were doing a session, and she did a reading for me, and she said, Gloria, you have so many souls around you. And I said to her, I know, I just don't know what to do with it. I said, I can sense them. I know, I just don't know what to do with them. And she said, well, if I were you, I would just explore it. This was probably like 7 years ago or so. And she says, if I were you, I would explore it, because, we all have them, she said, but to have an awareness of them, it's something that gives you like a little bit of a step ahead in the process. And she said, so if I were you, I would really go there. And I think that was the moment when I realized, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not crazy. There's a reason why I'm feeling this way. And maybe the reason why I'm feeling, maybe I am actually connected to something. So that's probably like the first moment that I realized, oh, okay, there's something here, to follow. So yeah. And then I think that from that moment on, I think that it led to the road of, yes, God is you and all that greater understanding, I think, of things. But if that's probably the first moment.
Amazing. Well, I've got two simultaneous questions, so I'll try and ask us one of them and then the other one. The first one is, you said that if you kind of look back over your life, you realize you probably have had been guided by that realization, but without necessarily being conscious of it.
Yeah.
Would you like to share an example or two that when you look back, you can see, that decision was actually guided by this knowledge?
Yeah. I think generally I've never been I'm quite obsessed with the truth. Yeah, quite obsessed with the truth, whether it's, my truth, finding the truth, everything that I do in terms of like the choices that I make or that I've always made in my life are always about like, am I happy right now? Is this true for me right now? And if it is true for me right now, I cannot have any regrets about anything, you know? And I feel like I was always guided by, even if it didn't make sense, I was always guided by this like inner knowing of like, no, follow what makes sense to you, what is true to you, And I was one of those moments actually was I was about, I think, 12 or 13 at the time. And I was a semi-professional swimmer. And I used to do like competitions and stuff at the time, in the junior, obviously, categories and stuff. And I used to do, competitions and stuff. And we had just come back from a big, big, big European, level competition in Germany. And I wanted to, it was very obviously demanding because we were away for like a whole week. There was loads of training, loads of competitions going and all of that. And I came home and I needed rest. Yeah. And my coach at the time said no. He says, no, you're not going to rest. In fact, we're going to up the training now, and you're gonna, because it was also like right before school was starting, and I was going, I think I was 13, and it was right before school was starting, and he wanted to up the training to not only go after school but go before school as well. So it was like a whole thing, and I said, well, I need rest though, and this does not make sense to me. I need time for myself to recuperate, and it does not make sense to me. And he said, well, you either do this or you're out. And I said to him, I'm out, like without a doubt, and everyone was against me. Like everyone was like, you could go to the Olympics, you could have such a success with this. Why are you being weak? Why are you giving up? I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm doing what's true for myself. If this person is going to put me through this, that doesn't go well with me. I need to do what makes sense to me, right? And again, like I had no idea about any spiritual concepts or anything at the time, but I felt like this deep connection to wanting to do what was true for me, even though it went against logic. It went against what would have been considered, acceptable at the time. And it made me absolutely look crazy, especially to my team who were like, what are you doing? This could be such a huge part of your future. Are you throwing all of this away? And I said, no, I'm sorry. This is not making sense to me. I cannot work this way. And I just left.
Amazing.
Actually, yes.
Well, I imagine if you did look forward in your life and you were thinking, well, do I want to live the way this guy's telling me to live for the rest of my life?
Exactly. Possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not. That's pretty impressive at the age of 13. That's really, really strong,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. I was, sorry. Yeah.
No, do go on.
I was just thinking of a conversation I recently had with my mom, and she said that I've never been able to make you do what I wanted you to do. And I was like, yeah, I know, because there is no way that I'm going to do something that I don't want to. I feel like it's just always been like my making, if something, and I can stretch and I can tolerate and I can have patience. And I've been in a toxic relationship for 15 years, with a person with narcissistic traits. And so I have kept myself in situations that were not good for me. But I think I've always reached a point where I had to face myself and be like, what does it mean for us now? What does it mean for me now? And if my soul says like no more, then no more.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter anything else, Yeah.
And that's interesting, because I think, I certainly, and a lot of people can say, oh God, I stayed in something that didn't work for me, whether it's a job or a relationship or a house or whatever it is. And you're someone who's followed what you wanted to do and followed what felt truthful for you. what's your understanding as to why you stayed in that relationship as long as you did? What was there some truth you were following in staying in it as long as you did?
It was, and I was actually following the outside instead of the inside. I thought it was the inside, but I was following my mind instead of my heart. That's what I came to understand.
Mm.
I was always, I came from a family where my parents were divorced. And so I never saw my parents together really, because they divorced when I was really, really young. I must have been like 2 or 3 years old. So I actually don't remember them together. And I feel like I almost made it a point with everything that I heard growing up. You have to sacrifice for love. You have to, you're not going to get what you want in life. I've heard these things, you're going to have to, things like, love doesn't last. You're with this person, you're too young. You can't have a relationship with too young. And I feel like I wanted to prove them wrong, you know, but I obviously, by proving them wrong, I I did something really bad for myself. But then obviously it's all for learning. I'm very grateful for everything that has happened. But I think that was a case when I actually followed the outside. And it is contradictory with what, I said earlier. I always do this, but I feel like maybe I was also so insecure and so desperate to receive love and attention from a boy. Because obviously when we got together, we were 18 years old, so very, very young. And I think I was so insecure and so desperate, and I had such low self-esteem that I literally like clung myself onto whatever was giving me that. And unfortunately, that was the wrong person. But I see the whole experience now that if I didn't have that, um, a lot of stuff that I understand now, I wouldn't have been able to understand mental illness in a certain way, to understand emotional overwhelm and emotional pain in the way that I do now. Like, I think it was all like a thing that I needed to go through so that I can do what I do now, maybe better.
I can completely resonate to that. I mean, I've got a memory of being involved with somebody where I knew it wasn't good for me, but I knew I had to stay.
Hmm.
I just knew, and I didn't know why. And I actually didn't understand why for years, until years after, that it was necessary. And so sometimes when we're following what we want, what our truth is, sometimes we are following the thing that doesn't help us in the moment, but later on has a value.
Yeah.
That's quite a subtle nuance, isn't it? And you spoke about the difference between following what your mind was telling you and what your heart was telling you. Can you
Yeah.
say a bit more about that distinction? Because this thing of what's my truth,
Yeah.
some people will say, well, my truth is that I'm right and you're wrong, but that's not the heart, is it?
It's not. Unfortunately not. It's not. And I think that, I've always struggled with my mind. Always have. My mind has always been very, very loud. It's got a personality of its own, really. I always feel like whatever is going on up there, not my business anymore. I used to be very, very influenced by my thoughts. So much so that, I stayed in a toxic relationship for so long, but also, I had OCD for a very long time, and it was influencing my life in such a big way that it took me 45 minutes to leave the house, and I was ready to go, ready, my jacket, my handbag. And it took me like half an hour, 45 minutes to actually be able to leave the house, because I needed to do all these things before I could actually leave the space, and same thing going to bed at night, so I was very like thought driven. Um, and as I said, my mind was very, very loud. So, but then I came to the understanding, and, through therapy and through, work and healing and stuff, I came to the understanding that actually, my mind was just trying to protect my heart in a way, but because maybe my heart wasn't ready. My heart wasn't ready. And or maybe even dictated by past experiences. As a child, I feel like definitely my heart was hurt as a child, for sure. Certain things I've seen in my parents and experiences I had with my parents, for sure. Even with bullying at school, so definitely my heart was very, very hurt, I think. And I believe that was just the mind compensating for that, being like, okay, so that didn't work. That hurt a lot. let's just go completely, the opposite way and just do it this way. But that obviously didn't work. So what I've come to understand now, it's that the decisions that come from the mind, uh, when I know now that I am leading from the heart, I know it because the mind doesn't have anything to say about it. It's like the mind is clear, the mind is kind of like there's no interference, and I feel like the decision in my lower bodies, not lower body, but more like towards the heart and the chest and like, the stomach, I feel the decision here and it feels grounded and it feels stable. The moment I feel that I'm thinking about something and I'm coming up with all like the different fears, the different, thoughts around it, beliefs, questions as to why this is wrong, I know that that's not what I need to follow, because that's just my very overactive, very, very loud mind trying to protect my heart. But I'm like, I need my heart to be exposed in order to have the experiences that I'm here to have, right? It's got to happen. So,
How beautiful. I just love the way you described that. I mean, you could write a whole PhD on just on those last couple of sentences that you said there. Incredibly valuable. And everybody listening, that's what was just said is really, really important. How you actually found a way of recognizing which part of you is wanting to go, and you're noticing the difference in the feeling in the body. But you're not trying to turn off your mind or pretend you don't have a mind.
no.
You've got this hilarious relationship with your mind, which I think is probably the best way to go, isn't it?
Oh, yes. You know what? I spent decades being afraid of it. Decades being afraid of it, succumbing to it, because that's a great part of what OCD and anxiety are. It's like succumbing to what your mind is saying. But what your mind is saying is just saying it because it thinks that's what you need. But it doesn't know, your mind doesn't know what you mean. You know what you need. Your heart knows what you need. Your mind, you just have to think of your mind as like a supercomputer. Your mind is never gonna, the objective of your mind is never gonna be to make you happy. The objective of your mind is like, where's danger? Let me get organized for that in whatever way. And some of those ways are perhaps extremes, right? But what you want to do is the heart, is the thing that is connected to, to your soul, to the universe, to, God, and, whatever God means to you. But, it's the thing that's most inside of you, I think. Yeah. 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 And you know what? It's not easy to let the heart lead. It's actually it's a very scary thing to do. And one of the things that I realized actually, again, like in the past few years, it became more of like a conscious understanding of what it is. I think that one of the most difficult things to expose ourselves to is love, and is doing what we actually want to do. Love is overwhelming. Love, like if you allow yourself to be loved and you're not used to it, it is overwhelming. Like I find it so, I'm a very emotional person. So even sometimes when I do readings, maybe I'm doing like a mediumship reading and I feel like so much love, maybe I'm connecting like a father to a daughter, and I feel the unconditional love from the father on the other side. It is very hard for me to keep it in control because it's so much to absorb, so much to absorb. And isn't it crazy, like how love is what everybody wants, but actually it's the thing that's probably the hardest for so many people, you know? Crazy.
It is crazy. And sometimes we literally reject it and won't receive it and will do anything other than,
Yeah.
fantastic. So you actually helping your clients, is that one of the things, of the many things that you help your clients to do, which is to be able to receive love?
I think it's a byproduct. Yes. I think it's a byproduct of what we do. I think once you're more connected with your soul and you live in a more authentic way, you're automatically more okay with receiving love and you expose yourself more to it, for sure. Yes. Yeah.
Why is that?
I think it's because you accept yourself. You accept that there's nothing wrong with you, and you also have less judgment towards yourself and towards others too. And I think when that goes away, or when that, massively reduces, you're not really affected by the world, or, the events, the things around you. You're not really affected by what other people are doing. You're very intentional about what you expose yourself to, because you know your path, like where you're going, what your soul is about, yourself. And when you do that, you're like, oh, okay, well, this thing is happening, but I'm not going to let it affect me. What I actually want is this. And so it's easier to attune to the experiences that are for you and that your soul is here to have, for sure.
Right. And then when love or other positive experience come towards you, it's easier then to receive it.
Yeah, it is. It is. I find that everything gets easier actually when you live from your most authentic place.
Yeah. So would you like to, this was the other question I had in my mind, which was this notion, God is you.
Yeah.
Would you like to have a go at explaining what that actually means?
Yes. Of course, yes. I think, well, this is a very personal explanation. I don't think this is necessarily universal. And I encourage everybody who is listening to maybe ask yourself, what does it mean to you? If I say God is you, how do you receive it? What does it mean to you? What would be your explanation? But this is mine. I feel that maybe this is mine because I was raised Catholic as well. Yeah. So in the way that I was raised, I was taught that there's this, entity outside of us that is all super powerful and super encompassing, and it's created so many beautiful things, and it's something that can help us. It's something that we can rely on, and it's something that can support us, right? But I always, again, being raised Catholic, the concept of God is very outside. So it's like, it's this man, or is this, man in the sky kind of thing. Then growing up with all the experiences and all, the spiritual, work and trainings and all of that, what I've come to realize that actually maybe what I was taught as a child was maybe a very simplified version of a bigger truth, And what I found that has really helped me in this is quantum physics. So understanding that everything is energy. So if I am energy, and if there's this big thing in the sky that we call God, or whichever, whatever God means to you, then maybe this thing, it's not just one person, it's not just one thing. Maybe it's everything that exists. Maybe it's not outside. If everything is made up of energy, including us, including, this table, this chair I'm sitting on, including all the animals and all nature, maybe that's what God is. It's just everything that there is. So why think that we have to go outside to feel supported, to feel loved? Why don't we actually understand that we have all of this within ourselves? And especially when it comes to like praying for certain things and wanting certain things to happen in your life, why do we think that we need to ask outside? We don't need to ask outside. We are absolutely in charge of every experiences that we're having, good or bad. You know what I mean? It's our energy that determines everything. And so to me is like no longer is the understanding of like there's nobody outside. There's nothing outside of you. It's like everything is inside. And we are actually also the same thing. We are expressions of energy. Like your expression of energy is Catherine in this beautiful life in 2026. And my expression of energy is Gloria here. But we are also our expression, another expression of our energy is like a little rabbit jumping around, like hopping around in a garden. And another expression is like the anger of the ocean. Like everything is just an expression of an energy that we all share and that we all come from. So none of it is outside. We're all part of everything. Yeah.
Love it.
Did it make any sense?
Perfect sense.
Okay.
Perfect sense. Well, I say, how can I put it? To me, that makes perfect sense. And I imagine for many, many of my listeners. That makes perfect sense. Because I think, you know, that idea that you've described there is something that people have been talking about for millennia. And like I said at the beginning, many of us have heard these ideas. And then nowadays, actually, many of us have actually explored them as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people listening to this and watching this have been exploring ideas like that. But there's something about the way you expressed it. You said, this is my take on it. This is my perspective on it. There's something about that I think is really valuable when we connect with our own version of it. Would you like to say something about that?
Absolutely. I've one of the things that I was that I thought in very, very early in my spiritual journey, I was still in the toxic relationship, and I was starting to be interested in meditation, to help myself and stuff. And the thing that I that I did, and I obviously gave up on day 3 of this, yeah, but I expected myself to be able to go from 0 to monk state in like nothing, in like 2 days. Why this is not working? Why can I not meditate for an hour? And so it was I was very much like that. And but this is the thing, because I thought at the time that spirituality needed to be a certain way, because that's what I was taught when I was little, right? I was raised Catholic, so my spiritual upbringing said this is what spirituality is, and this is how you have to do it, right? And so in the same way, when I approached another aspect of spirituality, which was, for example, meditation a few years ago, I thought that I needed to learn a system, and then I had to, do that. But that's not it. That's not it. I to understand over the years is that spirituality is very, very personal. It's very, very personal. And don't let anybody tell you what's right or wrong about your approach of spirituality. Don't tell anybody what is God for you. There's not a universal thing. We're however many billion people on the planet, 7-8 billion people on the planet. We all have completely different energies. We all have completely different expressions. What's going to make sense to me might not make sense to somebody else, but it doesn't mean that either of us is wrong. It doesn't mean that. It just simply is that we resonate with different things. And that's honestly okay. I don't understand why people hate on each other for differences like this. It's like, it's okay that somebody thinks in a different way than you. Thank God. Imagine we're all like completely the same. And it's like, no, there's no growth in that. And so I feel like ultimately is yes, the spirituality has to make sense for you. There's no like system that is dictated. Just go with what makes sense to you, and allow yourself, please, just allow yourself to discover your own way, and just follow your curiosity with it. Don't let yourself be brainwashed by something. Just follow what makes sense to you. Allow your soul to show you, because you already know.
Beautiful. Yes, excellent. Well, I'm going to just remind people where they can find you, because at this point I'm thinking, where can I find this woman? GloriaBattini.com, GloriaBattini.com. So, Gloria, how are you helping people now? What are you now doing with people and for people?
Yes, I'm doing loads of different things, So I have different ways. So one of the ways is somebody could just simply want to go on like a healing journey and just explore, maybe get themselves into this world and see what's there for them. And in this way, for example, I support people with readings. So I do soul alchemy readings, which are a combination of different techniques. But it's basically reading somebody's energies. Maybe they have a specific question. Maybe they just want to know what their energy is about at the moment. Maybe they want to inquire about their past lives, or inquire about their soul contracts. Like so many things. This is usually like the first kind of point, so that's if you're just opening up to things and you're curious about your own energy, I'm more than happy to read for you. And that's the first thing. But then if a lot of people that experience this, then they're like, oh, they feel like very open already to the to the thing, because there's a reason why you're called to it, right? There's a reason why you're called to it, is because your soul is telling you there's something there for you. So I have a lot of people that actually want to study it and learning how to do it and develop their consciousness or intuition. So I teach 2 levels of consciousness development, where I actually teach with another teacher. It's 2 of us together. We teach all the different techniques. We teach mediumship, we teach energy healing, we teach how to connect with spirit guides. We teach so many different techniques in 2 levels, so that people can make this part of their life in a different way, whether they want to become practitioners or they simply want to do it for their own development. That's okay. They are qualified to be practitioners and teachers as well at the end of level 2. So if somebody wants to take it more in a, this way, yes. But I also have a lot of people that have, a lot of business owners that are like, I want to do this, but I don't feel like I'm aligned. Like, I feel like there's something off. And I found that it's usually because they feel like they're following somebody else's blueprint. They're doing something as somebody else told them to, which is, the whole thing we were saying earlier with like religion and spirituality and stuff. And so they become lost and they don't know why their business isn't working. And they don't know why, why this. And so in that way, I work more on like on a mentorship level. And I basically help them realign their life and business to their soul. And that works in different ways. So first of all, we start with astrology. And we understand what is the blueprint and what is your way of doing things. What is your way of doing business? What is your way of relating to money? What is your way of following your purpose? Because you might have a calling and you're like, I know I want to go there, but maybe you're following somebody else's blueprint and it's not allowing you to get there. So what's your way of doing it? I'm not interested in, I just want to know how you work. And so from there, we just explore their astrology, and then we go into like deeper things. So usually there's a lot of healing involved. There's a lot of like reframing of the business as well, so that they can do it in the way that they want to. Yeah. And then I host loads of free live events on YouTube and Insight Timer.
Wow.
Yes. So loads of things.
Amazing. I mean, I can see there's a root quality and element to all of them that's the same, which is this coming back to alignment.
Yeah.
Who you are and following your own truth.
Yeah.
I love what you said earlier about that you were obsessed with truth.
Yeah. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed also with allowing, not allowing, because it's not my place to allow anyone, but I'm obsessed with people understanding that it's okay to be themselves. I'm obsessed with that. Absolutely. I am 100% a woman on a mission with that. I think that I might be bold in this statement. Maybe if I am, great. So I feel that literally 99% of the world's problem will be resolved if people were aligned to their authenticity. I really feel that. I feel like, unfortunately, we have a lot of people in power that are coming from ego instead of alignment, that are coming from hurt, that are coming from wounds, that they're trying to compensate in a way that it's obviously then detrimental for so many other people in the world. And so I don't think that we can start from them. I think that, we can, you can, discuss politics and everything, but I actually don't think that that's the point. I don't think the point is to start from them. I really think that the point is to start from us and from the people. And as we change, then we automatically create a different world, because in the way that I change, then whoever I come in contact to, then he's gonna get a version of me that's healed. Right? Whether they're my children or they are somebody else's children, or they're my friends, or they're my clients, like they're gonna be exposed to a different version. I don't have children, but you know what I mean. They're going to be exposed to a different version of me, and a healed version of me that then automatically will influence a healed version of them, and that way, gradually, what we build into the world is going to be different. I definitely don't think that it goes from the top down. I think it goes from the bottom up, for sure.
I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the way the structures are structured are a reflection of what
Yeah.
the collective is actually prepared to tolerate or asking for, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right about that, I think. Amazing. So I love how you're working with people privately and also people in the business world,
Yeah.
and that you're bringing the qualities you're working with into both those types of work, and you're doing the free events.
Yes.
What
I do.
happened? What are the free events about?
So are you familiar with an app that is called Insight Timer?
No.
So it's a meditation app. And it's a really, really good app that nobody's allowed to sell anything. So don't think of it like as a social media where, no, there's different teachers, but teachers put on loads of different like meditations on their pages. They have different courses, they have different talks, and then you can do live events on there. And I host several live events every week. I obviously am, very connected to astrology. So I do some astrology workshops on there, but I do moon ceremonies, which I find are a beautiful way to heal ourselves in a group setting if somebody doesn't have necessarily the budget of doing a private one-to-one things. And so I host moon ceremonies. I host a tarot reading every Monday, and it serves as like a setup for the week ahead kind of thing. I'm also a qualified coach, so I bring a lot of like coaching methods in the mix. Then I host free readings on the platforms as well. So in a couple of days I've got a mediumship readings coming up, and I just work around them. People give me their names, I put them on an online thing, and then I spin the wheel, and whoever comes up gets a reading. So, yes. So we just do it this way, and I have so much fun with it. We have a beautiful community on there on Insight Timer, and everything that I do on Insight Timer in terms of live events is then also streamed to YouTube. So if somebody doesn't have Insight Timer, then they can definitely find stuff on YouTube. So yeah, I have loads of fun with this stuff.
That's very generous of you, because that's quite a lot of time that you're spending on that. So that's beautiful.
I love it.
I just love your approach to what you're doing. It's been so much fun talking to you. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. We've talked about quite a lot today, actually. Has there been a favorite part of our conversation for you today?
Actually, you know what? I think that with your questions, you made me, put some dots together that maybe I hadn't put the dots together when you asked me, when was the first memory? I felt like, oh, wait a minute, it's not an old one, and I don't think I actually had put the dots together in that. So it was beautiful. I feel like, a lot of the things that we talked about, especially with regards to that, have brought my own like realizations. Like, oh yes, that's what happened there as well. So yeah, I was realizing as we were talking as well. So it was beautiful. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for flowing with it, because, not everyone can do that.
Oh,
So that's fantastic. So let's just remind people again where to find you, gloriabattini.com. Now, before we finish, Gloria, is there anything finally that you would like to give the listeners that if you don't say it now, in now's time, you're going to kick yourself, but you didn't think to say it?
I think besides the fact that God is you, besides that, I think I just want you to know that whatever you desire for yourself, it's not crazy. There's a reason why you desire what you desire. There's a reason why you're attracted to the things that you're attracted to. There's a reason why you have certain cravings. There's a reason why you're interested in certain things. If there's one thing that I could say, please do not dismiss them. That's your intuition that's talking to you. And it doesn't take much to connect with your intuition other than be curious. And then it takes, it opens up over time. Follow the breadcrumbs. Follow the breadcrumbs. Everything that you want is 100% possible. Just follow the breadcrumbs.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thanks again for coming to the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
And thank you to all the listeners and people watching. Because actually, even just listening to this and watching this and reflecting on it is part of the ripple effect that we're all here to bring about. So
absolutely.
So thank you, everybody. And do check in on truthandtranscendence.com. And having listened to this, please do check out gloriabattini.com. And if you feel like you like my energy and the way I come across and you might like to work with me, go to beingspace.world. So thank you again. And thank you, Gloria.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who's listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you.